Live from the Injured on the Go Just Call Mo studio.
It's a blast!
It's Orlando's own Tom and Dan.
Welcome to A Corporate Tom and Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We are live on Twitch and YouTube. We'd love it if you join us. Just search for @Tom and Dan Live.
Spencer and Jeff are here from the Orlando
Hi.
Science Center.
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Nice.
So let's talk the Orlando Science Center because it's about to be spring break. And if you're looking for something to do with your kids,
Don't let your kids be bored. Don't be that person.
then the Science Center is a perfect place to go for spring break because you could go there every day
Yes,
and
you
your
can.
kids can do something new every single day.
Raise your hand if you've done double days at the Science Center.
No, I haven't
yeah,
done
I know
that.
you have. I think we've done them together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great place to go for kids of all ages, including me.
And are there still camp spaces available?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Tom, because spring break's this interesting thing, right? Some people go out of town, and some people just kind of work through it, and then the kids are stuck at home. So good when school's out, OSC is the place to be because we've got camps for kids, kindergarten up through 5th grade. There's still spots available. Really cool camps, all themed around the new Top Secret exhibit, which looks at spy technology and applies things like critical thinking and code breaking and solving mysteries. So yeah, there's definitely some spots. You need to check it out. You can find it on our camps page of the website, osc.org, or you can even just give us a call at 407-514-2000 and just say, tell me about spring break camps. But it's a great option, especially for working parents.
Code breaking.
Yeah.
My great-grandmother, Native American, was one of the
Was she
original
one of the wind
talkers. An original wind talker. Yeah.
Dolly is crazy.
I'm
Don't fall for it, Jeff.
When Jeff and I linked up, he knew he was going to say wind talker. He knew he was going to say wind talker. God, I love you, Jeff.
Yeah, don't underestimate Top Secret. That thing's really cool. It's like an escape room, but more science-y, and it's so good. There's like so much content in there. You can go in there and spend 2 hours just hanging out in our traveling exhibit. Even if you've been to all the other stuff, don't go to an escape room. Come to a cheaper place and do the same kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Plus, that's a bad word, but it's not a bad word. But I was gonna say playability of your exhibit seems to be a thing. Like that Guinness exhibit that I know is now no longer there, but that thing. It was almost like you couldn't make it through every installation. So is that something that when you guys are looking at bringing in new attractions, new things for kids and adults to look at, like are you finding that it seems like they're packing a lot more into these type of
it's
deals?
important. Play is not a bad word. It's just like we all learn more while we're having fun. And if it's not cool, if it's not interesting, people aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
So the best exhibits really are fun. They are playable. They are appealing to multiple generations. And all that cool stuff is wrapped around some fun learning. And Top Secret does that really well. Guinness was really awesome with that. We loved having Guinness with us. And Top Secret is a great follow-up to that because it's got this cool retro James Bond, Austin Powers kind of vibe. But all the activities, while it's wrapped in this mystery of spies and solve who stole the quantum computer.
I don't know if you know this. You were sitting in front of Castleberry Austin Powers.
Nice.
That makes me mini-me. I'm taking that one. I'm taking that one.
Huge,
Take the power away.
But it's just like while you're in this cool exhibit and you're solving these codes and breaking these puzzles, you're learning really important STEM skills about critical thinking and collaboration and communication. And so it's this cool science exhibit that's just a lot of fun, and it's got cool spy stuff.
Let's talk wind talkers for a second.
They were using using their language to try as a new code, right?
Yes, they were using
which I think that's fantastic.
Indian, I think it was Navajo language.
And that's true, real American words. So to me, of course, no one else is going to know that because that's as American as it gets. I love that story.
We had the technology to build an atom bomb, but we didn't have the technology to code talking on walkie-talkies back and forth to the point where we had to find Native Americans that knew their ancient language.
It's just like virtually unbreakable.
Right.
But
because it was so truly unique.
Yeah, it was use some computers.
It's pretty wild to think about.
You can split the atom here.
I don't know.
So let's talk the universe with Spencer for a second.
Let's do it.
Oh, is that our new show? It's
topic.
the universe.
Let's
Let's
do a whole
talk it
segment.
just in Navajo.
All right, you start.
So
Oh man, back in the day, you do know that Tom's family
Well-
for 38 years told him he was a Native American.
well, everybody in Florida
You know that,
did.
right? Not me. Not me. I was never told. They told me, they're like, we're from Germany, Art,
Yeah.
and you are as white as it gets, and you're premature, and you almost died. So, like, you know.
So we'll start with what's closest to us, the moon.
Yeah.
The second private moon landing happened.
Huge deal.
On Monday, I believe, and the third is going to happen today, as we talk.
I didn't know that.
I think it's happened, or it's
It may
happening.
have already
I think it was
happened,
like 12:30. I forgot to check on my
So
way
we're
in.
having so many moon landings now that I can't even keep up with them? That's what's happening?
Yeah.
Well, they're not foot on the ground landings,
Yeah.
but they're still cool enough.
I think it's just as cool, man. I'm sure they got video of it, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they're like the size of a compact car, and
What kind? Like a Fiat?
I don't know. They didn't. They just said compact car. I was glad you asked because
Yeah,
I
some
looked at it. I was
Mini
like,
Cooper.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of compact
Mini
cars.
Cooper?
Yeah.
You know what
Mini
I don't
Cooper
like?
size.
There's the
I'll tell you what I don't.
Urkelmobile.
I don't like the Mini Cooper. They have a big Mini Cooper.
How
that
big?
kind of defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well,
is
have
that
a
in this-
big Mini
So it's
Cooper.
a Maxi Cooper? Is that
It's
what-
I think it's like, it's the Mini Cooper. I think it's called Big Country or something like that. It's like the
I've heard
Mini
of this.
Cooper,
Yeah, yeah.
Big Country.
So my question to Spencer is, they send these up there, and there's always like part of the story is like, oh yeah, we have a drill, we have a vacuum to vacuum up some moon dust, and they're like, we're gonna do some other
Say
experiments.
fragments. That sounds.
Yeah,
fancy.
yeah.
Don't say dust.
And then they're really interested. I guess this new mission that's landing today has got an ice drill because they want
Ooh.
to land it on like the south
I've
pole
seen
of the
those
moon.
in the magazines.
Because they believe that there's ice on the moon, and they want to drill down to find it, right? So my question to you,
What
Spencer,
do we do
is,
with moon ice?
well,
Put it in your drink.
Yeah. Oh man, that's what rich people do. Holy
Yeah,
smokes,
yeah,
if
right.
you're
More
drinking a
moon
drink.
ice,
Oh, that's
Reginald.
a huge
Yeah, like a
chef. If
spring
we got
bottle
some
of
moon
moon water.
ice,
and,
man, that'd be awesome.
and Spencer, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I
will.
thought we knew what the moon was made of, and it is made of Earth because the moon was created when a giant asteroid crashed into molten lava Earth and broke off some molten lava, and then it basically just reformed into our moon, blah, 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 millions of years later, and now we got this moon. So essentially, it's going to have exactly what ancient Earth had,
Yeah.
which I guess is kind of interesting, but it's like...
Are you saying this is not interesting? It's a long-winded way of saying it.
And that's the end of it. Let's move on.
What do you
It's
think,
not
Spencer?
interesting.
Not interesting?
It's not good. Let's move
Could
on.
they find...
Yeah, you could have just said this isn't for me.
Is there something I'm missing, and they actually could find something interesting in the moon, or is it just going to be more of what we know?
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure more of what you know. Here's the thing. Do we even know what the Earth is fully made of, right? We know we got the iron in there. We got like this core that is probably molten or something, but we don't really know that much about our own planet. I would honestly assume that we're going to learn more about the composition of our planet by studying the moon because of that impact you're talking about than we would even know, because we can't drill that far into the dang planet. We're limited by, I think Russia's got the deepest hole at some couple of miles, but we've got another 1,000 miles left to drill, right? So the moon's easier to drill on, honestly. I mean, I would bet that we might actually learn a bit about Earth a little bit from this kind of mission, which would be interesting.
Didn't they, like 2 weeks ago or something? Because I always try to like flag science news, and this one they slipped through the cracks. But didn't they just recently drill and pull up a sample and study it? And they're like, oh, well, this is kind of changing the way we thought about some of the elements, or as we got closer to the center of the Earth or to the core.
I haven't heard about this one.
I think there's I'll see if I can find it, but there was a story about like they pulled up something, and they don't exactly know what the difference is, but they know that they're seeing something that they'd never seen before.
Interesting.
So that's kind of what I think they're looking for. They may not exactly even know what it is they're looking at.
They're probably just also looking to see how much water is there. That's such the annoying part about loving space. And they're just like, yeah, Mars has liquid water under these ice caps, but is it like a pool of water? Is it like an ocean of water? We don't really know like how much of this water ice is actually up there. We kind of just assume it's there. We've got satellites that show like green glowy bits because it's water and it glows a little bit differently. But
And didn't they
we
see
got to
like
get hands on
tide markings? They thought
on the moon.
Not on the moon,
Oh, on Mars. I was gonna say
on
like
Mars.
no, absolutely. On Mars, all over the place. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mars is just full of running water of evidence everywhere across the entire surface. It's wild.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Mars because that's going to be my next question.
Of course.
So,
Are you mad about Mars too?
well, much like most Americans, Joe Rogan is basically a scientist to me.
Okay. All right,
That's
yeah.
how that works, right?
And I
yeah.
saw a clip on TikTok.
And you know what? He looks like a scientist. The most red
Yeah.
scientist. That man is
Yeah.
so red.
Yeah.
Check your blood pressure.
So I saw a clip on TikTok where Joe Rogan's like, "Look at this square on Mars," and then he was with some other guy. I don't know.
Jamie, pull that up. Pull that up.
And then they were talking about the square on Mars, and they're like, "What is this?
Yeah.
Is this evidence of an ancient civilization? Was Mars much like Earth?" And just like every other American, I kept on scrolling. Didn't bother to look
You're like,
into
got
it.
enough to be an expert.
Yeah, right.
Moving on.
So what was that square, Spencer?
That was. This is a little square you're talking, aren't you? Am I thinking of the same thing? Because a couple of weeks ago there was like, are we talking a big square?
Oh,
are we like
big,
crop
big.
circle size square?
It looked like it basically you couldn't see the full square, but you could kind of see it.
Was it a perfect square, or what? Did it look formed by?
Well, it was a 90-degree angle. It looked like. Now I don't want to ruin it, but I did
Ruin it. It's not a movie.
I
is
did.
it?
I did just Google it real quick, and then scientists are like, "There's another." They're like, "This is a ridge, and where you're just looking at some natural formation
wait a
that just
minute,
happens to be a square."
What did
Or-
your scientist say?
Well, Rogan, he said, "I don't know what could this be ancient civilization?" And when he said that, I was like, "Oh yeah."
He is really good at asking a question in a way that implies a thing. For
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And then he took
That's where I get it
a
from.
toot off of his mega joint.
Musk is there.
That guy-
And he's
We
like,
saw Musk
yeah,
on the
chainsaw.
square.
that guy's got a chainsaw. He's yelling comedies back. It's like, oh my God,
And
you
like, these
lunatics.
guys know. They're scientists.
They're lunatics.
They're on Mars.
yeah.
No, I haven't heard about that one. I saw what's weird just a couple weeks ago, like a small little kind of thing on Mars was also recently circulating, but I think it was an older one that got recirculated. But every single time, it is indeed just a rock.
I like the mask.
So I would just assume it's a rock.
I like
Yeah.
that little
Yeah.
mask that they had.
That
up
one
there.
is a great rock. I love that rock because
It-
it's so weird and it's kind of creepy,
Thank
right?
you.
It's unnerving.
Can
when
I tell
see
you
it.
something, Spencer? That rock has been around for so long. It's been. I'm 48. That's been around long enough for me to see it as a child and be terrified of.
That's different when you're a child in like the 1890s.
It was the
1810s, something
1820s.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Like,
we
I
don't have
remember
that
the
kind of
80s,
technology.
right? I think that was like
yeah,
the
that was
80s.
like in search of kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and when you see that mask on Mars, I remember as a child, I was like, "Oh my God, that's what's going to eat me in the middle of the night." Like, it was terrifying to me.
I get it. I still kind of get creeped out by looking at that thing. And
It's-
I also believe it's a rock, but like,
Yeah,
are we
I
sure?
know it's a rock, but it's
Yeah.
so awesome because it's super scary. Yeah.
Now, am I right in that I heard that Mars did have a core?
Now wait, do you want to hear if you're wrong?
Because I do not. I'm just asking this question. But did the Mars did have a core, and it basically burned out or stopped? And,
Solidified maybe or stopped spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not quite sure.
Kind of like you and I with this podcast. Oh my God, I am Mars.
and that's essentially what killed the planet, because without the core, like how Earth works is our lava core, basically the Earth's crust keeps basically
We get it.
recycling itself into it, turning back into lava.
Sure.
And that's what keeps us alive and keeps the planet alive. And once that stops, and partly the reason because of our moon, like we have two cores, and that's why it lasted so long. I think Spencer's shaking his head, so kind of right.
Yeah,
But which way is he shaking his head?
But-
hold on for the
kinda
audio
like a
listener. Which
diagonal
way
one
is he
now.
shaking his head? Is he going like this?
Yeah, right. Just like
Or is he
stop
going like
talking.
that?
That's no.
So is there at all a chance that Mars was populated by any sort of life?
Chat
right?
room believes so.
And it's been burnt out for so long that all evidence has turned to dust. And could we find any sort of evidence, even maybe underground, of like, imagine you found some underground evidence of like support beams from a building or something, like that's kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous. But
don't
is
know.
in like the far reaches of science, are any scientists talk about this?
Well,
or is
you're
it
not going to go
nah?
up there and find a space boot.
Well, I think that's
No.
the thing. Yeah, scientists are. If you're, a real scientist, you're not going to make the claim that we're going to find a space boot, but you are going to make the claim that we really hope to find life. It's just that, like, why would you make an assumption on what the life is? We have no
Yeah,
information on what that could be, right? And so, but like the possibility of life being on Mars is the question. It's literally all that NASA's talking about. Like they've moved all focus into just, is there life on Mars, or was there life on Mars is a better question, I should say. And that's what the Perseverance is over there for. We literally spent $1 billion recently, sent a this was like I think a Max Mini Cooper sized SUV sized thing to Mars, and its whole purpose is to have laser vision to shoot rocks to see if there's like ancient bio stuff in the rocks.
It was more like a Kia Sorento.
Exactly. And like you're saying, the core of Mars has actually stopped spinning as well. It's the magnetic field specifically that went away, which stripped away the atmosphere, because you need an atmosphere to be able to do anything, pretty much, be a functioning planet with life.
I saw Total Recall. I know.
Right, exactly. And it's so cold there with no atmosphere, and so there's no way for water to be a liquid as it stands right now. So it must have had a much thicker, warmer atmosphere at some point for us to see that result of the liquid flowing. But here's the thing. With all that said, now that there's no geological activity, like you mentioned, the magma's cooled down a lot more, the surface isn't changing as much as it does on Earth, those things aren't going to be buried as deep, right? Which is actually a great thing for scientists, because if we were looking on Earth, we have dozens of millions of years, hundreds of millions of years of life to dig through in the Earth, right? And it's constantly getting replaced with new mountains. Mars doesn't do that. We see the water that's probably been there for like 100 million years, and it's still just kind of there on the surface.
So
right?
Hence why you were kind of beating the drum of Mars, the moon, way easier for us to drill and learn from.
Right, because it's not changing, right? We don't have as much to deal with.
It's a better sample in an experiment, because it's no longer actively changing.
You gotta get to there, but once you're there, it's easy peasy, right?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Do scientists believe that, like, let's say our core stops spinning and that's done, Earth's done, like in a billion years from now, whatever, like until the actual sun.
And it's gradual, right? It's not like it just like stops and then we all fly off.
You would assume so, yeah.
Right? Or
but
something like.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works. How does that work?
That would be aliens.
And then say after 100 million years, would all evidence whatsoever be dust of our existence?
That's peaceful to me for some reason, you saying that.
Like every building, because after a certain amount of time, everything just turns to dust and turns to nothing, right? So would there be anything at all?
I think we tend to think of the Earth as like changing kind of uniformly across the surface, but our reality is that mountain ranges come and go. Whole oceans will divide the middle of the United States and then go away. The dinosaurs are later. Right? So like specific spots are changing. I would say that most life would be completely buried, right? But there's gonna be plenty of evidence. There's gonna be some like random valley somewhere that that hasn't changed since the time of the dinosaurs, and like there's gonna be random buildings that are still there and everything. I actually recently watched a YouTube video that was talking about like the last signs of life if we were to all die out. Like how long would lights go on for, right? Like if all humans died, like when would lights go out? And obviously our lights here based on fossil fuels would go out pretty quick, but there's solar panel lights that would go on for thousands of years, presumably, right? And that's kind of an interesting concept. Like thousands of years later, we might still just have like some functioning technology just existing.
Would be so,
Voyager will still be moving. The Mars
peaceful.
will still have the SUV-sized
I
robot.
want to walk around with just solar lights all alone and everyone else is dead.
I mean,
that's peaceful to me.
I think about it.
I bought solar lights on Temu and they lasted a week.
Yeah, not Temu solar lights.
Yeah,
the
solar
really good
lights
ones.
that line a walkable path for
they lasted a week.
They are
pretty much
terrible.
highway signs. The ones that the YouTube video pointed out is like, you know those call boxes on the highway? They've got like this little solar panel and an LED basically, and according to this YouTube video, which I don't know, right? They say these are going to last for like thousands of years because they're just so simple and like the system's just so complete and it'll just kind of sit there. Which is interesting. But yeah, well, eventually we'll get buried, right? Like a mountain's going to come through, and like over time scales, we're going to bury this stuff in 1 million years. You know?
Yeah.
Most of it, at least.
So I get a lot of like science information off TikTok.
They know.
And so I saw a video the other day explaining black holes, and I finally understood black holes. I never understood them until the video.
Now you're gonna try to regurgitate what you heard, but
you can share that
gonna
info.
mess it up.
I don't currently understand them. So
well, no, I'm not. But I
so you've won up Spencer, buddy.
No, I know.
Let's get down.
Well, do you watch TikTok?
No, that is really
you
meaningful.
Listen to Rogan.
Like when you have an intuition, when something clicks in your sciencey brain, like there's something special about it. And I know that feeling you're talking about. We're like, oh, black holes like make sense at a deeper level than I knew what they were, right? But now I kind of intuit them a little more.
Yes, that's what
I get
it
that
is.
same feeling when I chug a Sprite.
I'm like, I mean, you're not wrong. I've got a chai waiting in my car right now.
You know what I'm talking about, Jeff?
That head rush,
Jeff knows what I'm talking about. That guy
There
knows.
we go.
He knows.
My wind talking brother. Yes, I hear you.
So this is what they explain. They're like, every planet has an exit velocity, right? And that's what the space shuttle has to reach to get out of our orbit, right?
Okay.
And then like the Earth's exit velocity is like 7 miles a second. It's like that's the speed that you have to go to be able to get out of our gravitational pull and into orbit, right? And so then as the object gets more dense and bigger, like let's say the sun has an exit velocity. It's way faster than Earth's, obviously, because it's way bigger and has more gravity, right? So that exit velocity is some crazy amount or whatever, and then it gets bigger and bigger until the point where there's no exit velocity that's fast enough to get out of the orbit, and that's a black hole. And then I was like, oh, okay, not even light at the speed of light, which is the fastest traveling thing that we know of in physics, can't get out of the gravitational pull because the exit velocity is more than the speed of light. Yeah. And then I was
Where'd
like,
you get this, Daddy Long Neck? Who did Gucci Berry?
He explained it so easily. And then I was like, oh, okay. So then it's like it's the mass of this object is so high that there's nothing that can exit it, not even light. Yeah. And that's what the black hole is. Now,
so it's an unattainable speed?
Yeah.
No, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, no so light can leave it.
So there is a maximum speed.
Yeah.
Light is the maximum speed.
Light is maximum. So that does sort of make sense to me, yeah.
Right. The speed of light's not the maximum speed because light chose to go that way or just does go that way. Like, the math eventually hits a limit. Yeah. And, like, the massless thing that is light and other massless stuff goes at that limit, right? And so, like, we call it the speed of light, but I don't really like that name. It is the speed limit of the universe, and it's not even the universe. It's the speed limit of logic itself, of math. Math itself gives you a speed limit of existence, of when something is truly massless. Yeah. And I think that's the thing with a black hole that is even more bonkers to think about, which is you take that really nice stepstone of like getting there, but when you get to black hole, it becomes something even different because it's a massless particle. Light itself has no mass. Right. It's not interacting with gravity in the same way, right? It's interacting through just the pure curvature of space-time itself. And so the black hole has to go through like this singularity thing that we just don't quite understand to even be able to succeed in what it does. And you know, it's like all the mass to an infinitely small point, which is different than a star, which has a defined volume, right? A neutron star, all these different things, they have a volume, they have a size. A black hole doesn't have a size. It's a single point of mass.
Yeah, and that's
which is wild.
It's beyond my comprehension.
It doesn't make, that's when it no longer makes any sense.
Well, the idea of you talking about light and the process of it just moving is just based on the curvature. When you're talking about like that, and you're saying that, then light really doesn't, it's not choosing to do anything. It just
is.
It just is. Yeah.
Right. It just is. That's how everything is. That's really what we are too. I mean, if you want to, we're all just kind of moving around, just is, right? We're just are.
I've missed you guys.
I know, right?
Yeah, this is fun. I know. I'm serious.
It's been a minute.
It's fun when you guys come in and we start like getting, we get way out there and I'm like, oh man, Spencer got me.
Well, speaking of stars, I saw this other article in Science and the Universe about they think that water, I don't know if you saw this, that water was around earlier than people previously believed. And because like the universe started with only a base amount of elements, and hydrogen being one of them, but oxygen wasn't made until a star made it, until it was forged inside of a star, just like other elements, and the star exploded, scattering the element across the universe, right? That's how, the Neil deGrasse Tyson has some romantic...
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because we're all made of stardust, blah, blah, blah,
I don't like it when people say that, even if it's true. I don't like it when people say that because it makes me feel weak.
Yeah. Stardust, it's nice.
I don't like that. Like
it's just protons.
It's like telling me I'm made of snails and trails of puppy dog tails.
Yeah, it kind of does something like that.
Don't do that.
The thing that
I'm American.
Yeah, made of hard stuff.
Yeah, I'm steel.
Like neutron dust.
That sounds good.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds like a drug, maybe.
Yeah, we'll back that up.
Yeah. The really cool thing about that is that we are in like the third, fourth generation of stars in our universe right now. The universe being 14 billion years old. For the first 3, 4 billion, 5 billion years, stars like hadn't produced enough heavy atoms yet for life to exist. So the universe was by definition dead for billions of years. It was mostly hydrogen and helium, and there just wasn't enough to make complex matter, right? But after stars stars die and they go through the cycle, like you're saying, we're finally at the point 14 billion years later where life can even exist. So one of the answers to why is there not a lot of life in the universe is maybe we're just really early. That this is the first time that life could exist because we're so complex. We needed 5 star generations, which take a long time. And when you're talking about the deep scale of the universe, we've got another 2 trillion years left before some heat death happens. So, maybe we're just really early. Maybe we're one of the first aliens.
That's what the
First to the party.
Hey. First on the comments.
That's what the simulation wants you to believe.
Yeah.
That's what Rogan
Do you have
says.
a counterpoint?
Yeah, right.
Do you have a counterpoint?
Yeah, we're all in a simulation because if we can even think about doing a simulation, that means it's already happened.
Yeah, that is
fair.
I'm joking.
It's
That's
a hard
fair
logic
and
to get
proven.
through.
But and then I want to talk about Voyager 1 or 2 because it recently.
What's your favorite? I thought 2
The
was a
one
little
that they're
slow.
shutting instruments down
Yes,
for?
it was
2,
a-
the pacing was a little slow. 1, really.
It was the classic, like the original.
I like
yeah.
the characters better.
So
Right.
in 1977 they launched. I think that was Voyager 1, right?
That sounds around there, yeah, in the
but,
70s.
But they launched a Voyager.
Too tired to check.
And it had its power source was deteriorating plutonium, right? And
Yeah.
And then like it's something else too. But they shut down some,
Yoo-hoo. One bottle of
Just
Yoo-hoo.
right on there,
Yeah.
and
No milk in that.
it's about to run out of power, so they shut down some operating systems or whatnot to make
Mm-hmm.
it last a little longer. Because eventually, I guess, then we'll just lose track of it, and that's it.
Then it's just trash.
But
Right.
it's insane to me, though, just thinking about launching something from 1977 and the fact that it's shot out like a bullet into space, still traveling, hasn't even gotten that far at all. Like, that's the depressing
It's not
part
that
of
far. Where they show you that, you're kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
Because it's traveling at the speed of a bullet, and it's been since 1977, and it's like, it hasn't even. I mean, not even far at all. Like, didn't it pass like Pluto or something? It's like,
Well, it's way past Pluto now. The Voyagers are both kind of like at the edge of the solar system in the Oort cloud, which expands we don't really know how far. Voyager's kind of helping us get that. It went through, oh man, I'm going to get the word wrong. It's like helioshock or something. It's like the edge of where the sun's influence reaches the solar system, basically, where the sunlight or where the sun's matter stops influencing, and now only sunlight is influencing.
What's
it's like
the
something
radiation like there?
I think less actually.
Less?
Yeah, because you're going to stop getting the helium matter and like that.
Right.
You're only getting light radiation. But you're going to get at that point cosmic radiation from all of the stars, and our sun actually does a little bit to protect us from all that kind of stuff as well. So, when you get to the interstellar space, it's a different type of radiation for sure. You're still frying.
But the depressing part is that it hasn't even left our solar system completely.
No, it's in the solar system still.
And then you're like, oh yeah, but in another 100 million years, it may reach another solar. You're just like, what? Like, and then oh yeah, and then not to mention that there's trillions of other ones that are past that in all directions. That is so infinite you can't even.
But what if it just
comprehend
keeps going for forever?
Yeah, it will.
That's
it will
awesome.
essentially.
But that to me is I don't know why there's something very peaceful and cool about that. I'm
it
like,
does.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it does go
What's
forever.
forever?
'Cause
I mean,
It's impossible.
It could be, yeah.
Space
even
itself
understand.
is expanding. So like the distance between you and me, if we sit here long enough, the space expands, is getting bigger, right? And as long as we travel less than how fast space is expanding, then you're never going to reach the end. And so it is infinite to any kind of human technology.
Because it's ever
because like
increasing.
you'll never be able to reach the end. It's going to expand faster than you could ever travel.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so it's infinite to us. And like, but there is still a boundary, which is annoying to comprehend.
Did you see the article about they think that it's expanding in different areas at different speeds?
It's
or
got to
whatever?
be. I've been thinking this since college, and no one's been listening to me. That's not real science, but that's just something. There's no other explanation for the crisis in
Spencer's
cosmology.
in his dorm room
I know.
yelling at his
I really
posters.
was. I was on the chalkboard, like, look at this.
Yeah. It's like this is. I've been saying this for years. It's like so it's growing more like an amoeba and less like a big round ball growing.
I guess
Is
that's
that
kind
kinda
of
like-
Okay, so like there are some things like the speed limit of the universe, not the speed of light, but they're the same, that are defined by logic itself, by math becoming a thing. There are other numbers like pi is another example of that. Pi 3.14 and whatever, that's a result of like circles doing what circles do. But there are some numbers that are constants that we don't know why they're that number. 2.71, why isn't it 2.70, right? And there's a few of these like physical constants in space. And so one of the things I always found fascinating in college is that these physical constants might be different in different parts of the universe. And when that constant is a certain value, that's what gives rise to the complex creation here. But like down there where E is 2.72 instead, life doesn't quite exist the same. Physics is working differently there, right? But like it's still the same universe. It's just that physics functions slightly different. I've always thought something like that because there is that crisis right now where we're measuring distant things and we're just getting different data. And it doesn't make any sense. It's a real problem, and the web is still making it worse. Like every time that I come back, it's just like, yeah, the web made it worse again.
Okay,
Yeah.
And so, Spencer, what's frustrating to me, and probably to a lot of people, and that's probably why, like, it gets to the point where
This is where he goes on a rant about timeshares.
No.
He really hates them.
Sit down here.
He's been waiting to chastise you guys. He's been waiting to yell at you all day.
Why can't I use them at different weekend? It gets to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm following, and then all of a sudden you start getting to a concept where it's like. It's like
I do that all the time. I'll be reading an article and then I'm like, I'm out.
I'm like, I literally think no amount of explanation can get my dumb brain to understand what they're saying.
Definitely not, especially you who have so much primed. All you have to do is get
Spencer.
it in just the way to get that intuition click, like you got with the black hole.
Yeah.
And once you get that 25,000 times, you know physics.
No, you do that to me,
No.
dude. No, that's not true because like gambling, right? I'm not in there. I'm not a math guy. I'm a word guy, right? I'm an English major. That's what I love. But like he'll explain, like he'll dumb down like a gambling thing for me and it will make sense. You just need somebody like Spencer because you start to go too fast and you're also a know-it-all.
Yeah. Gambling is easy compared to the physics, the different physics of the different parts of the universe.
Yeah, but every time
I'm
he
just like, what do
explains it to you, you understand it.
No, I just shake my head.
I mean, we're talking about
For
stuff
politeness.
that you need a PhD.
Like when my nanny used to talk to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because now you're like, well, physics could be different in different parts of the universe, and I'm like, it doesn't even.
But you got to get to 21 to win.
Red or black
16,
or double
that's
zero.
the dangerous one.
Double down.
Do you want insurance?
Yeah, because then it's like you're like, well, the physics and math, how we understand it, could be different, and now you're like, well, then it's just like the Marvel saying that there's
No, you like finites. No, you like answers. No,
Well,
that,
well,
That could
right?
be it. I mean,
because math, to me, it's like, okay, math is the truth.
Yes.
Like, and then I'll just like, math is the truth. I'll live by math.
Yeah.
That's my religion. And then you're like, okay, that's fine for our math. But that might not be true.
Well,
and
no,
you're just
no.
like, oh no.
Here's the thing, because I'm with you all the way up until math is the religion, because math is like 1 + 1 is 2, right? And then like you take that and you get a little bit more complex. You do subtraction, multiplication. You start building on just this concept that 2 apples are just 1 apple and 2 apples become 2 apples. Like it's just logic itself creating all of this complexity. And all of that comes from just the simple logic. The constants being slightly different is not based in logic. It's just a number that exists because. And that's not cool for science, right? We want to be able to get from 1 + 1 to the answer,
Yes.
right? And it's a long chain to get there sometimes. But like Einstein did that with general relativity. He went from 1 + 1, he invented new math, he invented a new chain, and then he found that E = mc² and the speed of light of the universe and all that stuff. Like that all came from 1 + 1. But like the constants are not math. That's the thing. That's why they're sneaky, because they might be math, but as far as we can tell, we haven't seen the math
constants
yet.
are changing, but the math is
Math is logic.
The math
1
is the
+ 1 is
math.
always going to be 2,
Right.
no matter what side of the universe you're on.
But the universe is not.
But gravity might behave a little bit differently.
Right.
The curve might be a little sharper at some points, right? Because of some random constant that exists, right? So yeah, I still believe in math, I guess is my point. Like math is the one true everything.
Well, but then there's still, I do like that there's still questions, there's still stuff we don't know.
because it makes you mad.
And
And that's
we
passion.
like being
No, but
mad.
that is.
I mean-
we make a lot of jokes on here, but I think everybody knows that the reason he gets frustrated about it is because, I mean, truthfully, he's interested in it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's a cool topic. That's why I missed you guys. I like having you in because we always get into these things, and then they carry on to the dinner table tonight with Maisie. Well, what'd you do today, Dad? Well, let me tell you.
It's why I'm not afraid of ghosts, and I'll explain.
Okay,
because
all right. That's weird, but let's go. Let's go.
I wish
into it.
I saw a ghost or something supernatural. I would want it so bad that it would be worth it killing me just so I could see it and be like, oh, there's some sort of thing I was convinced this wasn't real. Yeah.
How do you want it to kill you?
Supernatural, and then the fact, dark matter, and the fact that we don't know what it is, and there's something that is like out there that's affecting gravity, and we know it is there. We have no idea what it is. I'm like, oh, like I'm like, oh, I like that. I'm like, because it means that
cool.
The mystery it makes me excited because I'm like, oh, maybe one day they will find it out in my lifetime. But probably not. That's what makes me so mad too.
You're like a jaded pessimistic into science.
Yeah. Because I'm like, just like the Dolphins winning the Super Bowl.
Never
I'm like,
gonna
I'm
happen.
never gonna win it
in
my lifetime. Because then I'm like, oh, it's too short.
But we always say, oh, this is over, this is done, and then we were just looking for just some science things to talk to you about. They found a different dinosaur yesterday.
Right. Oh yeah, they're always finding new dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's like, we got tons to figure
There's
out.
always something to discover.
Yeah,
and
tons.
humans will walk on Mars in our lifetime. Like that's gonna happen, right?
I mean, assuming we make it home okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I just want to see him walk on.
Yeah, I mean, I want my
turn the
moon
camera
landing
on.
moment. Everyone got their moon landing back in '69, and I'm like, I wasn't there yet.
Oh, I saw an article.
We got the chopsticks, the catch of the chopsticks.
That's something. We got a lot of cool stuff. Honestly,
we do. Yeah, we got some cool stuff, but I don't know. Moon landing would have blown my mind.
Well, the article
that's
that I read say there was they're predicting 2028 that they'll have boots on the moon like human beings.
It's just no longer NASA. Like NASA's just not going to be the first ones
private,
that do it, right? So, but that is going to escalate it so fast for sure.
Which also means we get a couple of those where the guy's using the Xbox controller to go see the Titanic. We're gonna get a few of these guys that get up there and they're running it lean. Which
we've seen SpaceX crash their Starship, which is intended for Mars. They've crashed it 40 times now, something ridiculous, and most of them were kind of intentional, but a lot of them aren't, and that's SpaceX. So when the next best comes and tries, they're it's going to be really hard to land on Mars. I hope that they are prepared. It seems just I'm all for the private industry. It's just that there's obviously less regulation with it than you would get with NASA. NASA's not going to send people there unless it's safe.
Spencer,
private companies are going to send people
slows
there.
us down. We got to work fast.
I also do think when they do put humans on the moon and then we see it as all HD or watch it and then they start talking about how hard it was to do, that's going to blow up the conspiracy theory even more that we did it back in the 60s. Because we're going to have a bunch of engineers and this cost this much, it was this hard to do, we're like, wait a minute.
Because you did it with a biplane.
When we see it the second time so long later, I think that's going to just
we
blow
waited too
the
long.
Conspiracy theories
You think
up
we
again.
waited too long?
Yeah. We should have done it in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. That's
Pre-internet.
kind of like the Ghostbusters second movie. You waited too long, man. You can't wait that long.
Again, let's talk about the summer camps. And this is we having these discussions is why you should send your kids to.
Don't you want your kid to be curious
Science
about
Center.
space and
It
about
is,
nature and about animals and about technology and STEM and all of these things that it's not like that's getting less.
Yeah.
Especially now. I mean, we live in a time where, I mean, just also there's nothing that sucks more than when your parents have to work or do something and you have to just stay at home and you have zero to do. You have literally all for me, all my friends would go on vacation and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God for camps or places to go and hang out and do stuff.
I was telling my sons the other day, I was like, did you know the Earth, we think it's all rocky and there's huge elevation changes, but even the deepest part of Earth and the Mount Everest is only 20 miles different, whatever. If you are a giant and you rubbed your finger around Earth, it'd be as smooth as a cue ball. And you wouldn't be able to feel anything. It's that smooth.
Let me ask you this. If you were a giant and you're rubbing your finger across the earth like a cue ball, did you wash your hands before you did that?
That explains
not.
so much.
with the
You better
special
wash your
soap.
hands. I don't think giants wash their hands. I know that's not science.
They can't
but-
find a sink big enough.
Look at this guy coming with logic.
That's pretty
Jeff,
good.
man.
That's pretty good.
Jeff's been sitting on his logic
Yeah.
all day. Comes with like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Jeff, for the camps, like, is you drop your kids off in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon?
Yeah, it's a great setup. You drop them off, say, around 8:30. They're in camp from like 9 to 4:30. And you pick them up after that. We also have an early drop-off and a late pickup option for just a small additional
Dude,
fee.
parents have to work sometimes.
Yeah,
man.
and
this
that's
is-
exactly what it is. It's the best thing for working parents because if the kids can be out of school, but you're not off work, and it gives them something really cool to do. They're around other kids. They're with our camp staff that is very well trained, and they're checking out the Science Center, and not just the Science Center, but doing cool themed activities, stuff with chemistry, space exploration, animals, cooking, all kinds of great
What
stuff.
May like is
Yeah.
she did one, and we did, just so you guys know, we did one with I forget what we did, one of the later pickup ones. And there was one day where you just, like, she went there, and I was like, what was your favorite day? Well, they just let her go, like, oh, you can go to any exhibit you want.
Right.
It's like, here, it's your Science Center. Have fun. There you go. And she was like, well, that,
Yeah.
you know, if you're a little independent 9-year-old girl,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
get
you're
all that
like,
freedom.
what? I got the whole center, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of it, right? That freedom is part of scientific exploration.
Yeah.
So part of what makes my job like easy, quote unquote, is that like if I just make people think better, that is science, right? And so like if you are embracing freedom or embracing play, like Jeff mentioned, play is not a bad thing. It's how kids learn. It is science for kids, and it can be science for adults if we let us, right? The natural curiosity, like when you go and talk to your kids about the cue ball and they go, okay, cool, dad, and they go back to whatever they were doing, like
How'd you know what they said?
I know, right?
Are you in my house?
That natural curiosity is not just there. It doesn't just exist, and we take it for granted if we have it. It has to be stimulated, and it has to be kept up with, too. It's not just for your kids, but for yourself. If you want to learn to think better, then start going and trying to think better. Like, go to the Science Center, go find cool things to just, like, critically think and try and challenge your brain in ways that we're not doing right now, right? And that's what's going to make you more curious and make you think smarter, which is our goal
Yeah.
here.
Love it.
Yeah, leaving them home and letting them just play Roblox all day will not teach them anything.
No, exactly. No.
That game does not teach anything.
Yeah, I don't think there's any science on there. I've looked.
You're getting
Like,
calling.
I'm like, what is this?
Actually, Max
the
was
one-
catching a megalodon the other day, and
That's
actually,
cool.
but
Not
then
the one Maisie plays. Maisie plays one where, and I kid you not, where she had a little, it looked like a Lego girl that looks like her. It's like a blonde ponytail, a pink top, and a little white skirt. And she's standing in front of an ATM machine, and it's just the numbers are going, and then every once in a while, her little Lego person will hit a red button, and then money will fly out of it. And she's like, "Yes, free money!" And I'm like, "What is this?
What is
What are you
happening?
learning
Yeah.
here? You're
I
standing in
still
front of an
don't
ATM
know.
machine,
I
just
don't know.
slamming the button to get money."
I know physics, but I do not know Roblox. I don't understand
Oh,
it.
I hate it.
Spencer, Jeff, thanks so much for coming by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks for
guys.
having us.
The
Anytime.
website, osc.org.
Yeah.
You could sign up right on the website.
Lots of stuff to look at there. Sign up, become a member, use it. You will not. You'll be thanking us
Yeah,
later.
and check out that License to Spy exhibit.
Yes.
It's really cool. And we will see you next week.